Okay, guys, let's do some brainstorming on what should go in our conclusion. So, we're writing a momentum lab conclusion. We want to make sure that each part contains a lot of good information, and we want to go back to that purpose of our lab. So, the purpose of our lab was to observe and explain the relationship between velocity and mass with momentum, or how it affects the momentum. So, we've got kind of four parts. We're going to do an introduction first, which is a topic sentence. So think about what should go in a topic sentence. So I think the most important part is it should answer the question. So we wanted to, again, remember thinking about what the relationship between mass and velocity was. So we want to be able to answer that using some of our really good vocabulary. We also want to make sure that it's concise, not too many extra details. And for this point, it can just be one sentence. That's fine. Observations are going to be the next part. We are going to use 3 observations. You're going to choose 3 pieces of data or evidence from your lab that you're going to use and explain that relationship. You want to make sure that they are detailed. And then because we did different parts of the lab, we used different balls and we used different speeds. We want to make sure that we're giving information on the trial that we're using. So give information on the trial we're talking about. Okay. So it's one thing to be able to give that information, but then we want to explain why it's important. So our key here is remembering that the explanation part tells us why our observation is important. We want to make sure that we are connecting it back to our topic sentence. And then we want to make sure that we're using vocabulary and definitions from our notes. This might be a good point to pull out your velocity notes or your momentum notes. And then our concluding sentence is going to wrap it all up. It's going to restate our topic sentence, but our concluding sentence is going to give more detail than our topic sentence. You are going to be writing about 3 observations that have 3 explanations, and you'll have a topic sentence and a concluding sentence. So we're going to need some sentence starters. We want to make sure that the sentence starters kind of help us to show why the information is important, but we want to make sure overall that they make sense. So sometimes when you guys choose sentence starters, you're just picking one out of the box, but make sure that you're reading it back and that it fits for the scenario that we're using. So observations, remember we talk about the trial that we're using and what we've done in lab. We're going to do 3. So this might be for a first observation, and then there's additional observations. And then over here, we've got some explanations. And remember, the explanation part is telling why our observation is important, connecting it back to what we've done. And then finally, we have been practicing all of this vocabulary. We've been using it in class, and so we want to make sure that we're writing like a scientist. So a lot of that has to do with using our science terms and having our sentence starters in there, but also spelling and punctuation and handwriting. So when we write our final draft, it's always a good idea to have someone else read over it, or for us to for sure read over it and not just kind of copy it down and hand it in. So in this lab, you might use words like momentum, velocity, mass, wiffle ball trial, quickly, slowly. What else did we do? Tennis ball. Trial. We had a couple different trials. So there's lots of good science words that we can be using.